Okay, so we're going to look on page 9 at numbers 5 and 6. I'm going to do number 5 with our factoring by grouping, and I'll do number 6 with the box method. You will get exactly the same answer either way, no matter which technique you use. Whichever one works better for you, you should try that, and then watch the video and see if I get the same answer as you. So I'm going to use my X frame here. I'm going to have my A times C on the top. That's my 9 times 4. And we're going to have 9 times 4, that gives us a 36. And our B value, that's going to be a positive 12. So that goes on the bottom. So we're looking for a pair of numbers that multiplies to make positive 36 and adds to make a positive 12. If we don't know that off the top of our head, make a list of the factors that multiply to make 36, like 1 and 36, 2 and, my brain is not working right, 2 and 18, and so on and so forth, down through that. But since we know it's going to add to 12 and multiply to make 36, my brain instantly goes to 6 and 6. So if we are factoring by grouping, what that means is I had, before we combined like terms here, I had this written as 2 6s. So I'm going to rewrite my equation with them uncombined together. So our equation came from 9x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 4. So it's just uncombining these like terms. These would be our new coefficients. The reason we want to do that is because then I can break this up into pairs and I can look at things in smaller chunks. I don't have to look at the whole equation at one time. I can look just at my 9x squared and my 6x. So 9x squared and 6x have a greatest common factor. They have a GCF. I can take out of both of those a 3 and an x. If I divide 3x out of both of those terms, what we're going to be left with, 9x squared divided by 3x is going to be 3x, and 6x divided by 3x leaves us with a 2. Then we're going to look at this pair and do the exact same thing. So I want to find the greatest common factor between 6x and 4, and what they have in common is a positive 2. And when I take my 6x and I divide it by 2, we're left with 3x. And when I have 4 divided by 2, that gives me 2. If I was to do my distribution right here, I would get exactly what we had here left. And if I combined these like terms, I'd get exactly what we had here. So I haven't changed anything in my equation, I've just made it look different. It's shaped different. Our last step with our factoring by grouping is to realize that we have the same piece right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that out as its own GCF. Just like we did here, how I took this 3x out of both of these pieces, I'm going to take the 3x plus 2 out of this chunk and this chunk. So when we write that down, we're going to have our 3x plus 2. And just like when I took the 3x out of these two pieces, my leftovers got put into parentheses. Now my leftovers are going to get put into a parentheses, and it's going to be our 3x and the plus 2. This guy and this guy. Those make this. So what we have here is our factored form. I've got 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. We have one other thing we can do with that, and since we have the exact same factor on here, I actually have one more way I can write this, because what we have is 3x plus 2 times itself, which is the exact same thing as 3x plus 2 squared. So you could write it in either way, absolutely totally fine. This is 100% correct, an absolutely correct answer. This is also 100% correct, an absolutely true answer. So factoring by grouping gives us this answer. It's exactly what we would get using any other method. We could use bottoms up, we could use the box, we could use guess and check, any number of techniques we have for factoring. So then we're going to look at number 6. So if you want to try it yourself before you watch the video, now's a great time to pause. I'm going to do number 6 using the box. So it's the same process. I'm still going to start by making my X frame. I still need to know these values. For my A times C, that leaves my 5 times 2, so that's going to be a 10. My B goes on the bottom, so that's negative 7. So what we're trying to find is we need a pair of numbers that multiplies to make 10 and adds to make -7. So again, if it's not something that pops into your head, especially when we're dealing with those negative numbers, it's sometimes tricky. A pair of numbers that multiplies to make 10 would be 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. I know since my top number is positive that these two pieces are going to be the same sign, and since this guy is negative, these are both going to be negative. So if we think about -1 times -10, I would get my positive 10, but -1 plus -10 would not give me -7. So if we look at -2 and -5, that's when we will have both of those qualities met. So -2 and -5 are going to be our true values. So what that means is when we are going through on the box, using that area model, what we're going to have is our 5x squared that goes up here. It's always our ax squared in the top left box. That c value is going to go in the bottom right box. And this middle term here gets these two numbers in these two boxes. So we're going to have our minus 2x and our minus 5x. That's where we get these two values and how we split up this 7 into two different pieces. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look in our columns and in our rows to try and pull our factors. So if we're looking at our first column here between 5x squared and minus 5x, what those have in common is a 5x. If I look at minus 2x and 2, what they have in common is actually a -2. This spot is always going to have the same sign as this box. So since this one is negative, we got to make sure we take out the negative here. Otherwise, we're not going to wind up with a positive here. We need to make sure that this guy's negative, so we need this piece to be negative. So then let's do our rows here. If I take my top row here, shared between 5x squared and minus 2x, well, 5 and 2 don't have any factors together other than 1. So the only thing we can take out here is an x. And in my bottom row, they don't have anything in common either because it's still 5 and 2. But in this case, I still need this spot to match this sign here. So I actually need to take out a -1. So when we write this into our factored form, we're going to have our 5x minus 2 and our x minus 1. So that gives us number 5 by grouping and number 6 with the box method.